Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Brian Valenti with the Covington Police Department. Just kind of give you a little bit of intro and kind of let you know what's going on. You guys already got the press release, but I'll review the press release. And Chief Nader will make some comments, and we're opening up to a couple questions, and then we'll kind of go from there. Just to kind of introduce who's here with me, from my right to my left is Commonwealth Attorney Rob Sanders, and our lead investigator, Austin Roth, and two gentlemen from the Clermont County Sheriff's Office, Chief Deputy Stratton and Sergeant Berger, and then, of course, Chief Rob Nader. As it said in the press release, on the 22nd of March, we were notified by the Clermont County Sheriff's Office that an individual had called and he had reported that he had found what he believed to be human remains and located them out in Clermont County. Investigators from Clermont County responded to the area, and they were able to locate the remains and contacted the Covington Police Department. Covington Police Department, in conjunction with Clermont County, searched the area, and we did recover several different remains at the time. All those items were actually sent to Hamilton County Coroner's Office and the Covington Police Office, and along with Clermont County Sheriff's Office, was notified yesterday, very late in the day, that those remains did actually, Clermont County Sheriff's Office and Covington Police Office were notified that those remains were positively identified of those of Paige Johnson, who was reported missing from Covington back in 2010. At this time, Covington Police Department and the Clermont County Sheriff's Office continue their investigation out on the scene, and they are continuing to search the area. And we would ask that that investigation is going to continue to go on, and there will be some questions, I'm sure, that are going to pertain to that. But we would ask you to please understand that this is an ongoing investigation, and there are going to be some things that we'll be able to answer and some things that we won't be able to answer due to either the integrity of the investigation or the fact that we just don't know the answers to them yet. At this time, I'm going to open it up to Chief Nader, who's going to make some comments.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Sunday morning, the Clermont County Sheriff's Office responded to a call of suspected human remains found in a wooded area in their county near Williamsburg Township. We were notified yesterday that the Hamilton County Coroner's Office identified the remains through dental records as Paige Johnson. She was reported missing to our department 10 years ago. At this point, there is no cause of death. We traveled to the home of Paige's mother, Donna, earlier this morning to give her the news. There remain many questions and much work before we can find the answers to those questions. Obviously, this was not the outcome any of us wanted. We all wanted to find Paige alive. Over the years, the hope faded, and I think the possibility grew fainter and fainter. Today, I'm sad to say that hope evaporated entirely. But it also ends the uncertainty of not knowing, and it brings us a step closer to solving the mystery of her disappearance. Continued efforts are currently underway, and the investigation is ongoing. To Paige's mother and the rest of her family, I simply want to say I'm sorry for their loss. Thank you. Any questions?
So she's found in Clermont County, which we always kind of knew that was probably a very distinct possibility should be found there because of the pings on some cell phones involved in this investigation. So will this become a Clermont County case? Because we still don't even know if that whole 15th and Scott drop-off location, we don't even know if that's true.
We're going to continue to work with the Clermont County Sheriff's Office. I want to actually thank them. They've been awesome. And the investigation's ongoing, so we're going to continue to work from that.
Have you been interviewing
this
any?
in the East Fork Lake area where you guys had looked before early on in this case?
It's near the Williamsburg Township.
Any idea in terms of suspects, or were there any new clues that you could gain for this through this part of the investigation?
Yeah, there's nothing additional at this time. Like I said, we're throwing everything at it, and the investigation's ongoing.
How hopeful are you that what you get here could lead to something.
I mean, we want to be hopeful. We've been hopeful for 10 years that something would turn up. So this is a first step. So, this is something we can move off of.
Chief, you've been here a long time. How surprised were you when you got that call?
I can't. I think it was surprising to everybody because I called everybody and said, hey, first I got the call and I'm like, really? We all know we have the coronavirus thing going, and it was so exciting. And I was like, we have to make sure first, getting the coroner's verification before we told mom. So in a lot of ways, there was a point that you felt relief, but then you still have all the questions of why she disappeared in the first place. So, I mean, once you had that moment of relief that you could tell mom, we found your daughter, it went right back to we still have work to do.
Have you guys been in touch with, with the podcast just came out like a month and a half ago. Have you guys been in touch with any of the people since that podcast aired who were initially involved in this investigation?
Right now, we're going to look at the investigation, review all we have from this point, and go from there. I really can't answer those questions because you're first to know. We're telling you right now, right after we told the mother. As I said, the investigation's ongoing. There's nothing much I can add at this time.
There were people you guys talked to early on. Do you still keep track of those people? Do you know where some of those folks are even at this point?
Everything's open, so we're looking at everything in the investigation.
One of those people being Jacob Bunkis, are you able to say, is he still a prime suspect, or?
I can't say at this time.
When you met with Donna this morning, obviously when you called her and you said we're coming down, she had to know what this was about. There's no surprises there. Without getting too personal, can you tell us what that meeting was like?
There's Detective Ross was with us. He's been devoted to this case and has done a great job. He had the relationship, so myself, a lieutenant, and one of our police chaplains went down to meet her. Yes, we called right before we got there. You could tell this is just a very hard time for her. She's grieving. I think there is some good feelings that at least her daughter has been located. But again, just like you have, just like we have, she has, there's still more questions. And that's our job, is to try to find those answers.
And this might be, I know this isn't your area of expertise, but you can find a lot of information in bones, but a lot of times you're not going to be able to determine a cause of death because all that's left.
You just nailed it. That's not my area of expertise, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
The family met year after year at that one place, Valenti Park, and I don't know what investigators were there, but obviously very closely connected to this investigation and just being there for the family. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, were you ever able to attend those? And
Detective Ross has, and our former detective that moved up to a sergeant. It is very personal for these detectives. They get very connected to the family. I think that's why it was so important that he was there to deliver the news this morning. It's tough for them too because they're living it and they want to give the family an answer. And we watch that with our detectives and we try to give them the support they need so they can help the family.
You may not be able to answer this. Do you think she was ever in Covington? Do you think she was ever at 15th and Scott?
We took the report as she was missing from Covington, and that's where we're going to work from.
Can you talk a little bit about what this means to the department and some of your officers? I know you had guys working on this for 10 years.
Yeah, there's officers that have retired, supervisors that have retired. I think they will find some relief too because a lot of them, devoted a lot of time, and the first step is to find her, and that's what happened today. So it is a big step for the department, and now we have something to work off again.
I was just wondering if maybe the Commonwealth Attorney Rob Sanders could talk to us a little bit about what this means to the case, if anything, at this point.
Thank you.
First of all, let me compliment Chief Nader and the Covington Police. As somebody's already pointed out, this never really was definitively a Covington case to begin with. It was just where the report was, but the police department has stepped up. They've investigated this professionally and gone after it with every last bit of effort that anybody could ask for or hope for. They've never given up. We've been through, I think, 4 police chiefs here and 3 lead investigators, and yet they've always continued in their pursuit of Paige Johnson and what happened to Paige. This, as Chief Nader said, it gives us something to work off of. But the other complicating factor is it probably raises almost as many questions as it answers. So the investigation as it progresses is going to come to some crossroads that we'll have to address, such as jurisdiction, cause of death, things of that nature. Those are all things that are going to be pursued. We've got detectives that are excited to open this. I shouldn't say open this back up. It's been open all along. But to get back on the case and go after it aggressively and see if we can get any of those answers. There are people out there that have more information and knowledge about what happened to Paige, and those are people that we will be looking to talk to again, and I suspect there's probably at least a couple people out there that ought to be really nervous right about now. And I'm glad, because those are the people that could have brought some compassion and some answers to Paige's family a long, long time ago, and they chose not to do that. So those are the people that ought to be worried right now.
But those people aren't gonna, they weren't talking back then, and if they were, it was very little. So, I mean, what's gonna...
Without addressing any one particular witness, there were multiple witnesses that either refused to cooperate with police, that lied to police, that told police half stories. It was a very frustrating investigation all along. There were people that made flat out false claims. At one point we had somebody that sent investigators all the way down to Knox County, Kentucky to dig a hole about the size of an Olympic swimming pool down there looking for Paige's body because somebody made a false claim that she was down there. That's the kind of frustration that investigators have been dealing with all along. Again, in addition to Covington Police and the Clermont County Sheriff's Department, there's police departments all across several states actually that have worked on this case as well, that have pitched in at a moment's notice, dropped everything they were doing and devoted every resource they had, and sometimes fruitless searches for Paige. We'd like to thank them for their efforts as well. But again, thanks to Covington Police for getting this job done and continuing to work on the case.
Rob, given what you guys know right now, which is not other than we got Clermont County, which was always a suspected spot where she might be, and then maybe she was in Covington. What do you think? What is your gut feeling on this, as far as prosecution goes, if it ever gets to that point?
Well, as Chief Nader said, those are questions we'll answer in the future. There's a number of different possibilities right now, and for me to speculate isn't going to do anything except help a defense attorney if and when charges are ever brought. So I'm not going to speculate about that, other than to say that we're looking at all those questions, and where whatever crime may have taken place, where it took place is obviously a question that we're going to have to come up with some answers for.
As far as prosecution goes, it's a big development, though, to have the step that we've
Yes,
got to take now.
absolutely. This is a big development because any charges, not necessarily homicide charges, but any charges related to a dead body, the very first thing you have to prove is that the body is dead. Now we can prove that. We know at least what came of Paige, because if we were to go forward with any charges before these remains had been found, then some defense attorney would be bound to claim that Paige just ran away from home and was living a happy life on the beach somewhere, and we know that's just not true. So we've known it was not true all along, but we're glad we can finally answer the question. All right. Thank you all.
All right, guys, again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I would like to close by stating, if anybody else does have any information about this out there, we're asking you to call Crime Stoppers at 513-352-3040. And thanks again.